Uncover 3 spine-chilling true spring horror tales, sinister secrets revealed from the haunted past. Lisa Johnson woke up that morning to the sound of chirping birds and vibrant spring blooms outside her modest ranch-style home in Springfield. But as the sunlight filtered through her kitchen window, it illuminated more than just her simple breakfast table. Shadows flickered in the corners, fleeting glimpses that vanished when her eyes turned. Lisa felt a shiver race down her spine. It was supposed to be a fresh start. Her life as a single mother had always been challenging, but here in this home, she yearned for some semblance of normalcy for her 2 young children. Yet, the whispers soft and sinister echoed through the hollow hallways at night, invading her nightly routine as she scrubbed burnt toast from the pan, the comforting warmth of home now muddled with an unsettling chill. "Everything's fine," she whispered to herself, though she didn't believe it. After all, she was just a hard-working mother juggling late shifts at the diner and PTA meetings. Who had time for ghost stories? But the unease gnawed at her, until the sounds became undeniable. Just last night, while tucking in Jacob, her 7-year-old son, he had grinned and said, "Mommy, can my new friend stay over? He knows all about the family that used to live here." Her heart raced. What did he mean? The hairs on her arms stood on end, recalling the tattered newspaper article she had stumbled upon at work, its headline screaming, "Family of 4 disappears without a trace." A horrible accident? An unsolved mystery? She clutched that soda-stained paper close, but each beat of her heart urged her to dismiss it as folklore. That night, her fear bloomed like the spring flowers, creeping into the sanctuary she fought hard to protect. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, and a suffocating sensation wrapped around her as Mr. Whitaker, their neighbor, made his appearances. With each visit, his eyes sparkled with a peculiar excitement, and Lisa wondered if she was merely paranoid, fueled by sleepless nights and frightened glances in the dark. But when Jacob began to echo words from the sinister past, words that twisted her stomach into knots, her calm facade crumbled. "He*s my friend, Mommy. He said there's a secret in the walls." How could a 7-year-old dream up something so sinister? That stormy night, lightning split the sky and rumbled like a warning as Lisa made her decision. Tension curled in her gut as she approached Mr. Whitaker's porch, each step heavy with dread. Shadows danced wildly around her. Was it the wind, or was it something deeper? Then she discovered a photograph tucked beneath a loose board in his garage, a family eerily familiar, one she knew from the very same newspaper. Heart pounding, breath catching in her throat, she realized Mr. Whitaker was woven into their terrifying legacy. In that moment, darkness loomed closer, echoes of whispers reached a crescendo in her mind, and she knew with terror clawing at her that the American dream she fought for might just turn into an unstoppable nightmare. Would she reclaim their home and the life they deserved, or become yet another lost story in the walls of forgotten secrets? The shadows around Lisa thickened, their whispers promised untold horrors as she stood at the precipice of disaster. With dread pooling deep within her, she faced a truth darker than she had ever imagined, and the question loomed larger than ever: what dark secrets were entwined in her reality, ready to ensnare her and her children? The storm raged outside, transforming her quiet neighborhood into a landscape of swirling shadows and raindrops pattering against the windows like frantic fingers. Lisa peered through the rain-smeared glass, her heart aching as she thought of the children. Missing their laughter, they'd been quiet for too long, and dread settled in her bones. She could feel the oppressive atmosphere pressing down on her, making it hard to breathe. Turning abruptly from the window, she gathered her resolve. "Just talk to him," she muttered under her breath, hoping to drown out the whirlwind of anxiety swirling inside her. With trembling hands, she grabbed the photograph from the garage. Whatever mystery Mr. Whittaker held, she needed answers. She had to know how deep the roots of this horror ran. She stepped out onto the porch, the rain cloaking her in a cold embrace. The air was thick with moisture and the scent of wet earth, but none of that could alleviate the dread that crawled along her skin. Mr. Whittaker's house loomed across the street, the lights flickering uncertainly as thunder cracked across the sky. Each flash illuminated her neighbor's face in her mind, those glinting eyes masking something sinister, something waiting just below the surface. With her heart racing like a trapped animal, Lisa walked toward his front door. Her fist hesitated just inches from the wooden panel. What would she even say? The thought of confronting him filled her with nausea, but Jacob's words echoed ominously in her ears. He knows all about the family that used to live here. The urgency to protect her children pushed her forward, and she knocked. Silence. Just thunder rumpling the sky above. She kicked at the ground, her impatience bubbling. What if he wasn't home? What if he was? The thought of his smile, so twisted, sent shivers down her spine like ice water. Finally, just as she was about to turn back, the door creaked open. Mr. Whittaker stood there, silhouetted in the doorway, his eyes gleaming with an uneasy kind of excitement. "Ah, Lisa. What an unexpected surprise." Come in," he said, his voice smooth and inviting. Hi," she managed, swallowing hard. "I wanted to ask you about the family that used to live here." Her words came out stronger than she felt, but deep down, fear tangled with an instinctual drive to uncover the truth. "Curious about the past, are we?" he mused, almost too gleefully. "Some stories are better left buried." An unsettling chill raced through her. "Jacob mentioned he has a friend, someone named Samuel," she pressed, her gaze locking onto his. Mr. Whittaker's expression shifted. The joviality faltered for just a moment, revealing a flicker of something darker. "Ah, children's imaginations can be quite vivid," he replied, but there was a slight crack in his voice. "You shouldn't worry yourself too much." "Worry?" she said, now feeling the weight of each word like a stone. "No, I'm not just worried. This feeling, these shadows can be misleading," he interrupted, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Sometimes they hide the truth. And sometimes, they reveal it slowly when you least expect it." Just then, a loud crash echoed through the house, startling them both. Lisa jumped, her insides twisting in panic. She looked back at the door, the muffled sounds of her children playing had vanished. Silence fell heavily in the air between them. "What was that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Perhaps," Mr. Whittaker replied, a smile creeping back to his lips, "you should see for yourself." Lisa felt the walls closing in around her. What had she unleashed? As the door creaked open wider, offering a glimpse into the darkness of his home, she drew a sharp breath. The shadows surged toward her, whispering, calling her name. She couldn't turn back now. She had to uncover the truth of the whispers, the hidden secrets lingering in her walls, before they consumed everything she loved. What lay beyond that doorway, and would she survive its dark allure? Lisa felt as if the weight of the night had twisted around her, tightening like a noose. The shadows in Mr. Whittaker's house beckoned with an allure she couldn't trust. But there was no way back now. Her feet felt glued to the porch as the door creaked wider, revealing an expanse of darkness that seemed to breathe. "Come in," Mr. Whittaker urged, his smile wider now, predatory almost. The gleam in his eye felt like ice water pouring down her spine. She stepped across the threshold, each footfall heavy and echoing against the floorboards. The air was stale, thick with secrets long buried. Lisa's heart pounded in her chest, and once inside, she felt the oppressive silence wrap itself around her like a suffocating cloak. "Where are my kids?" Her voice came out sharper than she intended, cutting through the oppressive quiet. "Children," Mr. Whittaker mused, his tone almost reverent. "They have such wondrous imaginations, and they can also be rather unpredictable. He stepped aside, revealing a dimly lit hallway lined with pictures that clawed at her sense of peace, the faces of families long gone, eyes that seemed to follow her move. Where did they go? Panic surged, flicking at the edges of her resolve. She wanted to turn and run, but something deeper pulled her forward. There was truth here, buried under the dread. "Oh, they're just exploring," he said, his eyes narrowing ever so slightly. "Children have their own way of discovering things, don't they?" An uneasy shiver crept down her spine. Each word dripped with a chilling undertone. "What do you mean?" "Come, let me show you," he beckoned, and against her better judgment, she followed, feeling like prey trailing behind a predator. The hallway twisted ahead of them, shadows dancing along the edges of flickering lights. She caught glimpses of children's drawings scattered on the walls, but they were wrong. Distorted shapes, hauntingly dark, spoke of fear and despair more than joy. "Why are those here?" she asked, her body tightening with anxiety. "Ah, art can reveal so much about what lies beneath, Lisa," he replied, feigning an air of wisdom. Yet his gaze darkened, and the smile faltered. "It can expose the things we prefer to keep hidden." Lisa's breath came in frail gasps as they reached a door at the end of the hall. It was slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness visible beyond. She could hear a soft thumping noise, familiar yet terrifying. Her instincts screamed to leave, but curiosity bound her feet. "Open it," Mr. Whittaker urged, his voice low and coaxing. "You'll understand everything." With trembling hands, Lisa pushed the door open further, revealing a dimly lit room. A flickering bulb cast eerie shadows on the walls, revealing a space filled with forgotten toys and old furniture. At the center, amid the dust and creeping shadows, two small figures stood facing away from her. "Kids!" she rasped, relief mingling with dread. But something felt off. They stood unnaturally still, not turning at the sound of her voice. "Mommy!" The smaller figure finally turned, but its face was a mask of waxy white, devoid of any semblance of familiarity. The hair fell over its eyes, hiding its expression as it stepped forward, arms outstretched. "Lisa, I think they're excited to see you," Mr. Whittaker whispered, his tone darkening. A chill swept through her as the other figure turned as well, revealing the same blank expression. Cold horror gripped her. Those weren't her children. Fear bubbled up inside, igniting her instinct to flee. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her. "Now," Mr. Whittaker chuckled darkly, "the real story begins." As the figures advanced, shadows deepened in the corners of the room, and Lisa's heart thundered in panic. What had she awakened? What was this twisted nightmare that lived within the whispers and shadows? And would she ever escape it? The room spun around her as Lisa's instincts screamed for survival. The figures drew closer, their small, waxy faces pulling her into their unsettling presence. Confusion mixed with dread, her pulse racing as she struggled to grasp what she was witnessing. "They couldn't be her children. Get away from me!" she shouted, voice cracking, the panic clawing at her throat. The closer they got, the more she realized they moved almost mechanically, like puppets on strings. Each step they took sent another tremor through her. Blood rushed to her ears, drowning out the thumping sound reverberating in the room, a rhythm akin to a heartbeat, hers or theirs, she couldn't tell. "Lisa, it's time to meet them," Mr. Whittaker said, his voice a sickly sweetness that made her skin crawl. His smile had twisted into something grotesque, revealing teeth too sharp, too eager. "Please, just let me go. Where are my kids?" Desperation laced through her words as she backed away from the advancing figures, her eyes darting around the room for an escape. "Aren't you curious?" Mr. Whittaker stepped closer, blocking her only exit. "What they've learned? What they've found? The stories they can tell?" The figures were almost upon her now, arms stretched in an eerily synchronized gesture. Lisa's heart pounded louder, an uncanny echo in the oppressive quiet. The air felt heavier, like a thick fog pressing against her chest. Her vision began to blur, frayed edges flickering like the dim bulb overhead. The smaller figure spoke again, voice soft yet unsettling, "We want to play with you, Mommy." The word "Mommy" echoed with a mocking resonance that slashed through her. Every instinct in her body told her to break free from this nightmare, yet fear rooted her to the spot. Memories of laughter and chaos overlaid on the dark shadows. Was this how she would remember her children? "Stay back!" she cried, her voice trembling. Suddenly, the room shifted, the walls seemed to pulse, closing in on her. With a surge of adrenaline, Lisa lunged towards the door, pounding her fists against the wood. It held firm, unyielding, mocking her pleas. Mr. Whittaker's laughter filled the space, bouncing off the walls like a sick symphony, delighting in her growing despair. The figures faltered for a split second as they exchanged glances, and then they moved again. Instinct took over. She ducked beneath their grasping hands, her fingers brushing against something cold and lifeless amidst the toys. A doll, its face smooth as porcelain, stared up at her with soulless eyes. In that moment, a heavy weight pressed down on her. A realization seeped through the panic. These figures weren't just empty shells, they were manifestations of her deep fears, twisted by something he had done, tainting her memories. "No! Stay away!" They closed in once more. She scrambled back, clamoring for a corner, her breath coming in ragged gasps. And just as she thought they would reach her, a flicker of hope ignited. She spied a window, slightly ajar. Desperation fueled her, and she lunged towards it, adrenaline surging through her veins. But the moment her fingers touched the cold metal, the pull of darkness gripped her. A whispered voice echoed, "You can't escape." As her mind raced, a rush of images flooded in her. True children laughing, running, playing. What would they think of her now, tethered in this sick dream? Would they wonder? Would they care? "You have to choose," came Mr. Whittaker's voice again, a silken threat. "Stay, or fight." Just as she started to make sense of her surroundings again, the shadows morphed into solid figures, taking form around her, each one more grotesque than the last. "Choose quickly, Lisa," he urged, as the darkness loomed closer, an insatiable hunger in its depths. Panic surged anew. If she didn't choose, what would happen? The question remained, echoing in the depths of her mind. What was the price of escape? But Lisa couldn't linger on that thought as the shadows loomed even closer, pulling her into their frenzied embrace. What awaited her just beyond this turning point? Would she still be the same if she chose to break free? The air thickened around her, and her heart raced as the ominous shadows coiled like serpents, and in that moment, she had to decide. She lunged toward the window, fingers fumbling against the cold metal frame, her heart thundered in her chest. For that fleeting moment, the world outside, with its soft twilight glow, promised freedom. But the darkness behind her surged, like an angry tide, relentless and suffocating. "Choose quickly, Lisa." Mr. Whittaker's voice sliced through the growing chaos. Panic surged through her veins, sharp and urgent. She could hear the whispers now, rising like a chilling chorus. "Stay or fight." The air vibrated with that promise, each word wrapping around her throat like a noose, tightening with every pulse of her heartbeat. "Stay," echoed the small figures, their voices melding together in a cacophony that sent ice through her veins. "We just want to play." The silhouettes of her children twisted in her mind, shapes of innocence turned into something depraved. Thoughts spiraled wildly as she felt the shadows pulse like a living entity, hungry and filled with malice. If they were her fears given form, would they devour her soul if she chose to confront them? A flicker of defiance ignited within her. No more. The boundary between her reality and their manipulations was blurring dangerously. As she began to scream, a banshee wail that reverberated off the walls, something twisted inside her, and it expelled a wave of heat through her body. The figures hesitated, as if pushed back by an unseen force. It was her anger, fueling her determination, the ghostly touch of her real children igniting her spirit. With a surge of energy, she clasped the window latch and yanked it, sending it flying open. The night air rushed in, sharp and crisp, an invitation to escape. But there was a cost. So much could be lost if she chose this path. What if she fled and left behind the very essence of her children? "Mommy!" cried one of the figures, voice dripping with dread, each syllable laced with twisted affection. "Don't leave us." A part of her faltered, the memories flooding her mind, those sunny afternoons in the park, warm hugs after long days. Her children's laughter echoed now like a ghostly refrain, mingling with the plea of the figures reaching out for her. "Don't." Lisa's voice broke, the weight of her choice anchoring her. "You're not them." With that realization, clarity emerged from the chaos. They were illusions, facades made of darkness and fear, and she wouldn't let them define her. With a fierce cry, she dove through the window, surrendering to the unknown outside. The rough ground at the base of the building jolted her awake, pain shooting through her leg as her body rolled away from the grasp of that wretched place. Above her, an agonized roar echoed. Mr. Whitaker stood there, his face contorted in rage. "You'll regret this choice." Lisa scrambled to her feet, breath coming in short, ragged bursts as she bolted into the thickening trees surrounding the building. The woods loomed like dark sentinels, each shadow stretching and morphing into her nightmares, but she pressed on, heart racing, fueled by a mix of fear and the instinct to reclaim her life. Branches whipped at her cheeks, the smell of damp earth and decay filled her senses, grounding her in the reality of flight, yet whispers followed, slithering through the branches, wrapping around her thoughts. "We're coming for you." The trees shifted, twisting as she fled, the night stretching endlessly before her, each footfall echoing in a hushed urgency. The clarity of her decision turned bitter as she realized her escape wasn't over, it was just beginning. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, promises of what she had left behind lingering like an inescapable fog. Lisa stumbled, the soft earth betraying her. A cold chill surged as she glanced back. Was it truly over? Or was the worst yet to come? The question hung heavy in the air, a portent of the horrors that awaited her as she plunged deeper into the woods. Branches clawed at Lisa's skin as she stumbled deeper into the forest. Each gasp for air sliced through the taut silence, mingling with the desperate whispers that seemed to grow louder behind her. "We're coming for you," echoed in her mind, a sinister promise that solidified her resolve but sent ice through her veins. Darkness surrounded her, oppressive and tangible. The trees twisted and turned, leaving no way to gauge her path. She had no idea how far she had run or whether she was still being pursued. All she could do was push forward, hoping for the first glimmers of dawn to break the nightmare. Then, an unsettling rustling nearby halted her momentum. For a fleeting moment, she froze, ears straining in the thick silence. Was it her imagination? A trick of the feeble moonlight? However, the rustling grew louder, shifting through the underbrush like a predator on the hunt. Lisa's heart pounded as she scrambled to the trunk of a nearby tree, pressing herself against the rough bark, desperate to become one with her surroundings. "Mommy," a voice cooed softly, just beyond the shadows. Inevitably familiar, yet coated in darkness. "We miss you." Lisa swallowed hard, squeezing her eyes shut. Memories of laughter and warmth morphed into a horror that threatened to swallow her whole. "This isn't real," she muttered, squeezing her fists against the bark. "Get away from me." The response was a chorus, a stream of distorted giggles that sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through her. "We just want you to play forever." She could hear them creeping closer, the sound of tiny footsteps mingling with the rustling leaves. Every bone in her body screamed to run, to find some semblance of safety. But facing the echoes of her children, twisted and warped from their innocent forms, paralyzed her. Just ahead, she saw a faint glimmer of light, a break in the trees that promised hope. Her heart screamed for her to move. Mustering her strength, she pushed off the tree and darted towards the light. But the ground underfoot shifted treacherously, roots entwining like snakes intent on pulling her down. With a gasp, she tripped and fell, face-planting into the cold, damp earth. Pain shot through her knees, but she couldn't afford to pause. Scrambling back to her feet, she felt the shadows shift, swirling around her, alive and furious. Don't leave us, Mommy. A voice cried, closer now, rising from the depths of shadow. No. Lisa yelled, the words spilling from her lips like a frantic plea. You're not them. Her words shattered the stillness, and for a fleeting moment, the whispers stopped. Silence. Then, an enraged howl erupted from the darkness, a sound so primal it sent her heart racing again. She bolted toward the light, adrenaline surging through her veins as the shadows crashed alive behind her. Tumbling into the clearing, she skidded to a halt, breathless. Stars sparkled above, yet an eerie stillness clung to the air. A dilapidated cabin loomed before her, its windows shattered, door swinging ominously on its hinges. It felt wrong, but it was her only chance. Lisa charged forward. As she pushed through the door, the hinges screeched like a banshee. Inside, darkness writhed, swallowing her whole. The musty air clung to her skin, suffocating. She took a step forward, glancing over her shoulder. The woods remained silent now, but she knew better. They were waiting, watching, drawing closer. Why did you leave? A voice whispered from the shadows within, barely audible yet full of dread. Lisa's heart raced as she turned to face the unknown, breath caught in her throat. What had she awakened? Are you ready to play? The question lingered, thick and heavy, an invitation laced with dread. Was there truly no way out? The darkness inside the cabin swallowed Lisa like a beast ready to feast. The air felt heavy, each breath tasted like ashes. Her heart pounded as she strained to adjust her eyes. She could see silhouettes lurking in the corners, shapes that twisted and writhed, blacker than the night itself. Why did you leave us, Mommy? The voice echoed again, this time surrounding her. She backed away slowly, pulse racing. Was it her imagination, or was there something truly there? Shut up. Lisa snapped, desperation clawing at her throat. She looked around for a weapon, anything to defend herself. The room was filled with debris, broken furniture, shattered glass, and a dusty old chair tipped on its side. Very little offered any comfort. Mommy's scared, another voice chimed in, this one higher, a chilling sing-song that sent shivers down her spine. You shouldn't run from us, we're only playing. She felt the ground beneath her shift, the floorboards creaking, threatening to give way. A whisper curled around her ears, just one more game. What game? Lisa whimpered, trying to keep her voice steady. What do you want? The shadows pulsed with laughter, a cacophony that rose and fell like a wave, enveloping her. The tiny feet began tapping against the rotting floor. A light flickered in the corner of the room, illuminating warped faces contorted with malice, the twisted reflections of her lost children. A wave of nausea struck her as she caught sight of them, wide eyes, hollowed cheeks, and smiles that didn't belong to them. This was not the innocence she once cherished. We'll play hide and seek, the chorus sang, voices overlapping like a twisted melody. The children faded, dissolving into the walls around her, their laughter echoing off the cabin's bones. Lisa stumbled toward the door, reality blurring in her mind. She turned the knob and pushed, but it wouldn't budge. Panic gripped her. She was trapped. A shrill laughter erupted again, filling the room. You can't leave, Mommy. The game has just begun. Determination surged through her, battling fear. She could hear the faintest sound, a heartbeat or perhaps her own, tearing through the taunting laughter. I'll find you. I'll win. She screamed, hoping to summon courage she didn't feel. Ready or not, here we come. An echo lingered, slithering through the air and creeping under her skin. The floorboards rattled loudly beneath her feet, as if the cabin itself was responding to the promise of a game. The walls seemed to close in, and then suddenly, a beam of moonlight broke through a crack, illuminating a staircase leading down. Fear and hope battled inside her chest. Should she take the stairs down into the unknown, or face whatever lingered in the cabin? Taking a deep breath, Lisa stepped toward the stairs, uncertainty wrapping around her. The whispers surged again, stronger now, riding a tide of dark euphoria. 1 2 3 stop. Lisa screamed, the sound exploding in the confined space. But it only fed their glee. She turned and dashed for the staircase, plunging into the darkness below, rushing down with no idea what awaited her. Her foot slipped, and she fell the last few steps, landing hard on the damp, dirt floor. The ground felt alive beneath her, pulsing, as if it were another creature waiting to join the game. "I'm not playing," she shouted, trying to drown out the chorus of laughter spiraling upward. But from behind her came a voice, sickly sweet and familiar, "Oh yes, you are." As she stood, breathless and bracing for the confrontation, something shifted in the shadows. A figure emerged, draped in darkness, and Lisa gasped. Who or what was waiting for her in the depths of the cabin? The true game was about to begin. The chill and the damp air wrapped around Lisa like an icy grip. She squinted into the murk, trying to discern the outline of the figure that had materialized in front of her. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and shifting like wraiths. As her eyes adjusted, a sense of dread settled in her stomach. The flicker of moonlight from above was gone, leaving her in total darkness. "Mommy," it cooed, the sweetness in its tone laced with something sinister. The figure took a step closer, revealing a familiar face. It was eerily distorted, her daughter's features warped by malevolence. "I've been waiting for you." Lisa's heart raced. "Sarah? Is that you?" she whispered, dread clinging to her every word. The child she remembered was gone. This creature with hollow eyes and an unnatural grin bore no resemblance to her little girl. "Come play with us," it chirped, a laugh that echoed through the darkness, sending a shiver down Lisa's spine. "We've missed you so much." Panic surged as memories of her lost children flooded back to her, their laughter, their joy, and the day they vanished. In desperation, she tried to break through the thick fog of horror. "No. You're not my Sarah. You're something else." The figure's smile widened, teeth sharp and glistening in the faintest light. "You ran away last time. But now you can't escape. The game's changing." As those words hung in the air, the ground beneath her trembled. The walls began to pulsate, the dirt floor vibrating like a beating heart. A whispering chorus rose from it, desperate and pleading, "Hurry, Mommy. Hide before it finds you." Hide? Panic turned to confusion. Hide from what? But the whispers only grew louder, drowning out her questions. The shadows swirled, a dark tornado spiraling before her, and suddenly, figures emerged, more children, their sunken eyes pleading as they beckoned her to join them. "Let us play hide and seek, Mommy. Just like before." The memory struck Lisa like a fist, how they used to play together. But this game was different, tainted with darkness. She could feel the walls closing in, the breath of the forest outside now a distant memory. "I want to play your game," she shouted, her voice defiant, but it trembled with fear. "Don't you want to find us?" The echoes of her children giggled, their voices merging into a haunting refrain. Then came the low growl from the shadows. Something new was emerging, something even worse than the twisted faces of her children. The air turned thick, suffocating, and from the depths of the dark, an ominous form began to take shape. It was massive and shifted, slithering closer, each movement eliciting dread from deep within her. The laughter morphed into shrieks, blending with a chilling anger that vibrated through the space. "You'll never get out." With a sudden burst of instinct, Lisa spun to find an escape, her eyes scanning desperately for any passage out of this nightmare. The dirt floor shifted again, the earth itself seeming to pull her back, hold her down. "Remember the old game, Mommy?" Sarah's voice slid through the chaos, tantalizing yet terrifying. "You were always it." She felt the urge to scream, to lash out, but instead, she bowed her head, focusing on finishing this twisted version of their childhood pastime. "If I hide, if I'm quiet enough." Suddenly, the pounding of her heart rang in her ears, overpowering all noise. She had to find a way to turn the game against them. A flicker of ingenuity ignited within. "I'm not afraid. She yelled into the dark, daring whatever creature lurked to confront her, but just as she steeled herself, the thing loomed larger, shrouded in shadows. A deep voice echoed from the void, "We will find you." Now she had more than one fear to face. What were the true rules of this game, and what did it mean to live without her children? Lisa's pulse quickened. She had to act fast as the laughter crescendoed behind her. But what if there was no escape, no power to reclaim? "Just one more turn," whispered a figure as it reached out, and Lisa took off into the darkness, her decision solidified. Down the winding tunnels of despair, she ran. But how far could she go before the true horror caught up with her? Was it just a game, or was it something far more binding? The cabin had secrets buried deep, ones waiting to be unearthed. What lay ahead, she could only dread, but there would be no turning back. "Where are you hiding, Mommy?" The chorus taunted, driving her deeper into the abyss. The final play was coming, a face-off with the shadows, and she could feel them waiting. Could she survive what awaited her in the dark? The tunnel narrowed, the air thickening around her as Lisa sprinted deeper into the darkness. The laughter still echoed behind her, taunting, persistent, a siren's call that drew her further into the shadows. The rasping breaths of something monstrous echoed from behind. Was it the children? Or was it something worse, something hungrier? Then, Lisa skidded to a halt, pressing her back against the damp stone wall. The noise intensified. The walls pulsed with the rhythm of whatever was pursuing her. "Think, Lisa," she begged herself, searching for a plan. She remembered stories about spirits, how they fed on fear. If she could just repress the despair, stifle the panic, a soft voice emerged from the darkness, one that made her heart sink. "Mommy, why are you hiding? We only want to play." It was Sarah again, but this time it sounded different. The innocence was gone, replaced with an enchantment that wrapped around her heart like chains. "You know how much we've missed you, don't you?" "No," Lisa shouted, feeling wild desperation in her chest. "You're not my daughter. You're a lie." The darkness shifted suddenly, and all sound ceased. Lisa clutched her head, trembling. This was the game. It twisted her memories, turning everything she loved into a weapon against her. "I will find you, Mommy." The voice cooed, now ever so close. The temperature dropped, chilling her bones, as the shadows took form around her. A figure materialized, hovering just beyond visibility, a gauzy silhouette that took on features she recognized. It was Sarah, or at least what her daughter could have been, drifting between child and something monstrous. "You left us, you left me when I needed you most." The memory burned. That horrible day, rain-soaked and panic-ridden. Her children had clung to her, drenched in fear as she screamed for them to run. But now, the echoes of their laughter twisted into shrill cries that tore at her sanity. "I had to protect you." She wanted to scream. But the words never found their way from her lips. Instead, in the suffocating silence, Lisa did something reckless. She took a step forward, defiance lighting her fading spirit. "I'm not afraid of you. You can't keep me here forever." The figure recoiled, and the shadows writhed around her. "You're wrong, Mommy. We're all trapped here together and the game has just begun." Suddenly, images flashed through her mind, passing glimpses of other children, their faces twisted with despair, echoing her children's laughter. They were memories of all those sought by the darkness in this cursed place. Maybe she wasn't the first. Panic wrapped around her like a noose. "Run!" A new voice suddenly broke through, a deep reverberation that felt like thunder in her chest. It was not the children. This was a warning. Lisa did not need telling twice. She tore down the passageway, her feet pounding against the dirt floor. But it grew tighter, shadows clawed hungrily at her back, urging her to slow down, to yield. Then she skidded to a halt as she reached a large, dimly lit chamber. It was circular, the walls lined with etchings of faces twisted in terror, forever frozen in time. The air was thick with an ancient malice that curdled in her stomach. "Welcome, Mommy," they whispered, voices melding together like a darkened song. "You'll be part of us soon." At that moment, she spotted a glimmer, a break in the wall. The whispers turned to a roar, an urge to stay mingled with the urge to flee. The truth hit her like a slap. This was not just about her children, it was a prison for souls, a never-ending cycle of anguish. Determined, she lunged towards the light, but before she could reach it, the laughter erupted again, wrapping tendrils of darkness around her. "You think you can escape? It's not your turn yet." The finality of those words sent chills down her spine, and as the shadows closed in, all hope felt lost. Did she dare turn back? With a surge of adrenaline, Lisa took one last look at the faces etched in despair. "I want to let this be my fate," she yelled, launching herself toward the light, igniting the last flames of courage she had left. But as she raced forward, the ground quaked beneath her, and the laughter shifted into a collective, anguished wail. "You can't run from us." Could she break free from the curse that had bound so many? Would she survive the relentless horde that sought to claim her soul, just as it had claimed theirs? The light flickered ahead, and for a brief moment, she thought she saw a chance. But was it a way out, or just another trap? Lisa was caught between two worlds, between the living and the dead. And somewhere deep inside, dread coiled tighter, whispering one last chilling thought: what if this is just the beginning? The pulse of fear clawed at Lisa's lungs as she sprinted toward the glimmer of light. Shadows swirled behind her, a ravenous horde twisted with intent, baying for her desperation, mocking her efforts to escape. "You can't run from us," echoed through the chamber, the laughter ringing in her ears like hellish chimes, but Lisa's heart burned with a fierce flame of rebellion, the memories of her true children joyful, innocent, and loving lighting her path. She could not give in to the dark nursery rhymes playing in the dim recesses of her mind. "Stay away from me," she screamed, her voice rising above the taunting cacophony. As she reached toward the light, she could feel its warmth, a beacon beckoning her with promises of hope. The ground trembled as she stumbled, roots and shadows intertwining beneath her feet. "You're playing our game," screamed a chorus of voices, sorrow and mania wrapped in one. Lisa couldn't look back. She plunged ahead, fueled by rage, love, and an unyielding desire to break free from this cycle of torment. Just steps from the edge of the light, a dark figure lunged, its form ever shifting, tendrils reaching for her like ghostly hands. "You will join us, Mommy," it shrieked, a malevolence that made her skin crawl. The fear surged again, but she managed to face it, shaking off the dread that tried to grip her limbs. "I will not," she cried, channeling all she had left: her heart, her soul, the laughter of her children she could barely remember. "They need me." With every ounce of strength, she leaped toward the light as shadows screamed and lashed out, desperately trying to pull her back. The air crackled. A brilliant rush of clarity enveloped her, and she felt something shift, the shadows recoiling, their grip weakening like a fading nightmare crushed by morning's light. "Leave her. She's not ours." A voice rang out from the darkness, deep and resonant. Lisa knew it wasn't her children. This authority stirred courage within her. With a heart filled with determination, Lisa bolted through the light just as the shadows reached her, a swell of darkness crashing against an unyielding barrier. She shot through, the world around her exploding into vibrant color, fresh air filling her lungs as she tumbled into the clearing outside the cabin. The sound of the forest came alive, a sweet symphony of life contrasting the haunting echoes behind her, but her relief was short-lived. Lisa staggered to her feet, breathing heavily as she glanced back, drawn by uncertainty. The cabin stood silent now, but shadows still twisted in its corners, waiting for the next. "Mommy!" A small voice called from behind the trees, innocent and sweet. Lisa's heart raced, but she fought to keep her resolve steady. "No! You're not my children. You're just shadows." She howled, battling against the whispering refrain that threatened to return her to that dark place. The forest buzzed with life as dawn broke, sunlight spilling through the trees like golden water, chasing away the remnants of fear. A distance now lay between her and whatever lived in shadows. She took a step forward, then another, stronger with each breath she took. "Mommy," came the voice again, weaving its way through the trees, dripping with false hope. "No!" she shouted, her voice echoing defiantly. The memories of her children surged back, vivid and warm. She would remember them not for how lost they had become, but for who they were, who they still could be. With newfound strength, she started to walk away from the haunting echoes, pushing through the dense forest, believing more fiercely with each step that they would be safe. As she pressed on, a shimmering path of sunlight unfolded before her, each glimmer merging with her laughter, their joy fading the realm of darkness behind her. The shadows whispered once more, but they were further away now, straining against the dawn. "Thank you," she whispered into the wind, releasing the pain they'd endured. Behind her, the cabin faded into obscurity, swallowed by creeping vines and brambles, the desolation of forgotten memories now obscured. At last, Lisa stepped into the morning light, free. With every breath of fresh spring air, the false laughter faded, replaced by the gentle whispers of the trees, the promise of a new beginning tethered to the memory of irreplaceable love. As she wandered back home, freedom in her stride, Lisa vowed to paint her life anew with the colors of her children's laughter, vivid, alive, and joyous. The past had woven shadows, but she carried within her light one that fear could never extinguish. Now, to all of you listening, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, because it really helps. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I want to hear your thoughts. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.